Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the Bommer 7512-H-640. This is a double-acting gravity pivot hold-open function in a 640 or oil-rubbed bronze finish. It is consisting of a few different pieces. Let's look at them all now. Here's the bottom assembly that I have in my hand. The door portion, a little bit of lubricant there, and then the frame portion down below. You've got the top portion. Here's your jamb side, and then your door portion. And this is a double-acting pivot for doors from 7/8 to 1.5 thick that will allow your door or doors to double act, like saloon doors or cafe doors. This model will allow it to hold open at about 9 degrees, available in different architectural finishes. The 640 specifically means oil rubbed bronze, but a steel base material. Okay, it is double acting. Either way the door will open. The gravity feature of this, the weight of the door itself, will allow it to close. What allows it to hold open is the only difference between this and a non-hold open is that they take the plug and they square it off on this side here and inside of here as well, so that when it gets to a 90 degree, it will rest on the shoulder inside of there and just stay open until you come and push the door back closed, and then it'll just close on its own. Okay, now, also available in a non-hold open, which is probably more common, certainly more common than the hold open, but nonetheless the hold open's common as well. For doors up to 50 pounds, so that's a pretty heavy door that it'll take. 30-inch maximum width is what they've got it engineered for. And you'll see these sorts of pieces of hardware in half-size doors behind cash register area where the employees can come in and out behind the cash wrap. You'll see it in coffee houses to get behind, those sorts of applications, very typical. Now, the business end of this. There is a link below this video to both the template and the instructions, and the rest of this video is going to be going over the installation of the material in detail. So looking at the installation instructions, there's very little difference between the installation instructions and the template, with the exception that the template shows the alternative method of mounting on the right side by cutting out the bottom of the door, which is not typical, but we'll get to that at the very end. So at this point, let's focus on just the instructions. Before you get to step one are the parts. Top bracket, your nylon bushing is inserted, your top pivot. Bottom pivot, cylinder and cam, your nut, the square drive is inside of here, and then your bottom bracket. Okay, it says with star hole. It doesn't really matter, or doesn't really mean anything at this point what that is. It just allows you to orient the cylinder and cam to get the door to a 0 degree. Okay, now moving to step one, fasten bottom bracket to the jamb, and that is this bottom piece here. So at this point you would loosen the nut on the bottom of this, and it comes just hand tight from the factory. And now we're going to see what that star hole means from the parts breakdown. As I remove the cylinder and cam, the bottom of that is a star hole, and then you've got your square plug here. You can only orient this onto that in one position, that the doors will hold open at 90 and close at 0 degree. So you have to be sure to get that placed back exactly where it's supposed to go so that you do that. But anyway, you'll sort that out. You'll see immediately if it's wrong. You remove that and you get this attached to the jamb. Be sure the bottom bracket is in vertical alignment with the top bracket, which is in step 4 actually. What they're saying is, jumping to step 4, is that these two, your top bracket and your bottom bracket, have to be plumb. They have to be in the same axis of pivoting. You dropped an imaginary line from this hole down through this one. It needs to be the same. So now that you've got this attached to the jamb and screws are included to get all that on, you will reattach your cylinder and cam so that the flattened off area is exactly oriented as you see here. It has to be flush to the back. And you put this back on, just hand tight is really all you need. You don't want to over tighten that and damage anything on the inside of it. Now, that's step 2. We just did that. Okay? Step 3, round jam edge of door with 7/8 radius. So what they're saying is, when you get this installed onto the frame, the axis of pivoting is such that a specific margin will be accomplished between the edge of the door and the jamb. But they're counting on you radiusing the edge of the door over. Meaning, if my fist is a square edge door and you try to get it to rotate very closely to a jamb, the outside corners of the door would bury into the jamb. So that's why you have to radius it over. It's like the top row of tile in a bathroom. That's bull-nosed. Well, if you did that on both sides of the door, it's now a radius. So you'll have to radius the edge of the door over in order to accomplish that sort of margin. Now, I have seen where people have not cheated, but worked around that, where they will pad this off the jamb, both brackets, so that they can use a square edge door. I've seen it done plenty of times, but the instructions call out for it to be radiused. Radiusing the door, I'll talk about that for a moment. I've done it a lot, and I've done it so often that I would just have a tool, a router, that is set up with a large roundover bit for doing it. A 7/8 radius is an 1 3/4 diameter bit. That's a large cove bit or a roundover bit. And if you're going to order your door from the factory, let's say, and you don't have that tool, order it already radiused. If you don't already own the tool and don't plan on doing more than one of these, you might want to try to find a woodworking shop that can do it for you, because the investment in the tool alone would be significant. Or come up with a different workaround if you can't radius it. If you're going to radius it, every time I've done it, I would take my door, lay it on my work area, sawhorses, clamp it down. Then I would have a router with the base where I've cut out a large center section of the base to fit in a large roundover bit into it, specifically set with the depth such that the center line of my radius is the center line of the door, okay, based on your door thickness. I would take that and run my router down the one end. I'd be very careful not to tip my router or to push back this way when I was at the end of my travel. I would only make 2 passes. You don't need any more than that. Any more than that, you're just running the risk of, routing too much off. Take my door, flip it over, do the same thing down the other side. Now, when you do that 7/8 radius, you're going to be able to accomplish a very tight margin, a 5/32 of an inch margin between the edge of the door and the jamb. If you do that preparation on the opposite side of the door as well, you can get down to that 5/32 margin as well. And that's just over 1/8 of an inch. So you'll have a very nice tight margin there. If you're not, you're probably going to want to allow, depending on your door thickness, a 1/4 inch, 3/8 of an inch margin for your door to be able to clear in there. So radiusing it is the point where you'll have to determine how you're going to proceed with working it from that point. And that, by the way, that 5/32 dimension I took off of the template. I'm not seeing it on the installation instructions. I can see it not being relevant because they're saying accomplish that radius and you don't need to know the dimension, but that's what the dimension is. Once you have your door radius, you can go about surface mounting your top pivot to the top of the door. You can attach your bottom pivot cam assembly to the bottom of the door, and at that point you'll be able to move to step 4. So now your door is sitting inside of here. You've got this attached to the top of the door. The only crucial thing in step 4 is that reference to the 3/4 inch. You're going to want to install the top jamb bracket such that you've got 3/4 inch of a margin between there, because as the door is pushed open, it will rise like this. So you want to leave your margin for that, and that's where that comes from. And again, you need to make sure that these plates are plumb. Axis of pivoting is compatible. The note in the lower left-hand corner, the 7512-H with hold open feature does not require any special installation. The hold open feature is on the cam and holds the door open to at least 90 degrees. To release the door, just push it. Double acting, capable of 180 degree plus opening. Now, moving back to the template, the only additional information, like I said earlier, is that alternative prep where you would actually take the bottom of the door and cut all of that out so that you had a different sort of look that you might be accomplishing. That's unusual to do that because, well, there could be construction of the door that you would compromise. There could be dowels, there could be lags, there could be part of the door that if you were to cut it out in that fashion, you might get into the particle board, you might cut the stile off and, create a door that's no longer put together. Looking at the rest of the template, everything else is pretty straightforward in terms of what's on there. It gives everything important dimensionally about all the individual parts. I won't go over that because they're all drawn out there. And it's a very straightforward sort of item. The last thing I'd like to point out in this video is the Bommer logo, and right above it it says Made in USA, a fact that Bommer is quite proud of, as am I to represent them. Any questions on the Bommer number 7512-H-640 double acting gravity pivot with a hold open and oil rub bronze, or any other Bommer product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.